Hey, sir, I've got a couple of comments for you. One is a positive, I don't know, a question. The average American probably did not grow up the way you did, okay? So I'm curious about that just because I'm not familiar. My point, I've got that question. The second question is, in all the news media, we're talking about the children that are put in cages and all that. And of course, we're all concerned about all the children put in cages. That's all I'm hearing about. How's about the parents that are losing their children? Where are the parents? I've not heard anything about the parents.
Yeah.
And now, where are you in this ball game? And did you grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth? I mean, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know who you are.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being out here. Thank you.
I'm doing the best I can with the tools I got.
Me too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the question is, who am I? I'll try to, it's a big question, right? And I'll try to give you
grew up in a rich family.
a good answer. Yeah, so fourth generation El Pasoan. On my mom's side, her dad was in the Air Force from Georgia originally. Met my mom's mom in Albuquerque. They moved down to El Paso. And in 1950, this was kind of the exception at the time, she started a small business, a furniture store that my mom later worked in. And, you know, I and my sisters worked in as we were growing up. My dad, on his dad's side, you know, descendant of Irish immigrants, came over in the 19th century, worked the railroad from Missouri to Nebraska to Tucumcari, New Mexico. So, the gentleman asked if I'm a Mick. I mean, if you want to put it that way, American. And so, grew up in El Paso. Yeah, I had opportunities that others didn't. Got to go to college, had a work-study job every year, took out student loans every single year to make sure that I could afford that education, and then tried to make the most of it in life, starting a small business, serving on the El Paso City Council, serving 3 terms in Congress, and then running for the United States Senate. Father of 3, Ulysses, who's 12, Molly, who just turned 11, Henry, who is 8 years old. In some ways, not exceptional, in some ways, very exceptional. I'll just give you one example. Not something that I understood at the time, something that is becoming crystal clear to me right now. When I started that small business, following in my grandmother's footsteps in 1999, went to the bank, couldn't get a loan. Was starting a technology company. I had no collateral to pledge against the value of that loan. My dad, who owned the house, it was now fully paid for after they'd paid those mortgage payments every single month, could take out a loan against that home and turn around and lend that money back to me. I could use that money to invest in our equipment and hire people and start a business. What I have learned is that might be the story in much of white America, but in black America, which has the 10th of the wealth that white America does, not by accident, but by design, redlined out of the home loans that would have allowed the building of equity that could have served as the seed capital for starting a small business, has literally been written, drawn, locked out of so much of the economic success that you're right, that I took for granted growing up. Now incumbent upon me.
You appreciated what you had.
That's right. But now I've got to appreciate the challenge that others have in this country and make sure that it's a more equal and equitable playing field for every child who's born into this country, from education to healthcare to economic participation. So that's a little bit of my story and a little bit of how it connects to other people's stories. Appreciate you asking.
Next question is right
I
here.
had another 2 questions about the childhood, people coming across the border.
What about the parents?
Children. We're not talking about the parents.
Yeah.
Nothing on the news or anything. How's about the parents who have had their kids, their children ripped from their arms? I never hear anything on the news or anyplace else about the parents. How
we do.
You think the parents feel about having their
We
kids?
do.
Real quick
hear
response
that.
to this question. The gentleman asked, we talked about the kids in these detention camps. What about their parents? We know that some of the parents, especially under the zero tolerance policy last year, were immediately arrested, separated from their kids, turned over to the Department of Justice, criminally prosecuted, then remanded to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, where they were deported back to the very country from which they fled. In many cases, no ability to track the whereabouts of their kids, no means or money to get back up here to fight for them. don't speak the language, do not know our system of justice or laws. One of the things that I said earlier, and I want to just reiterate now, as president, we will move mountains. We will pay any price to reconnect those families. We have the culpability. We separated them in the first place. And if that means bringing those parents back up from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, let us do that. If it means investing in the mental health care of those kids who've been deeply damaged, let us do that. Yes, let's make those families whole, and by extension, make this country better. Absolutely.